Heaven held its breath. Not a sound stirred, not even the whisper of wings, as if the very air had learned to wait. And in that stillness, I found myself there, beyond the weight of the world, beyond the ticking of hours, beyond every thought that once held me captive. There, the light did not burn, it did not blind, it simply awas, soft yet piercing, gentle yet undeniable. And in that light, a voice came, not like words carved in the air, but like water moving through the deepest chambers of the soul. It spoke, and I felt rather than heard. It spoke, and time itself seemed to bow. I died, or perhaps I simply stepped aside. And suddenly, everything I thought I understood about prayer, about God, about the quiet whispers of heaven, unraveled and reformed in the brilliance of truth. And then it came to me, the mystery, the power, the hidden current of speaking in tongues. Not as a gift to flaunt, not as a doctrine to debate, but as a river flowing from the throne of God into the heart that will receive. It was not taught, it was not explained, it was handed like fire resting gently upon a hand, and I trembled, not with fear, but with awe. Every pause, every breath, every sacred moment there seemed meant for you. Even now, as your heart feels the heaviness, the silence, the questions you cannot name, know this. The same heaven that paused for me, pauses for you. The same river that poured into my soul is waiting to meet yours. And if your spirit has grown weary, if your prayers feel small, if your faith feels too timid to reach the sky, hear this even here, even now. The Word, the Spirit, the fire of God can speak into you, can ignite something that no struggle, no failure, no shadow has ever touched. So breathe, listen, let your heart slow and feel the weight of this hour. Because what I learned beyond the veil, what Jesus Himself whispered in the hush of eternity, was not meant to remain in heaven alone. It was meant to touch you, to change you, to awaken the tongue that prays when words falter, the spirit that leaps when reason falls silent. Even in your struggle, even in the chaos of your days, this moment is yours. And the river is waiting. I see you. I see the storm that rages inside. The way your heart pounds against questions it cannot answer. You have prayed, yet the silence stretches. You have cried, yet no comfort seems to come. You have waited in rooms of shadow, in mornings that feel like ashes, in nights that do not end. And perhaps no one has said it aloud, but you know it. The ache is heavy. The ache is real. It presses against your chest like an unseen weight. And you wonder if anyone, even God, is listening. You have tried to speak, to articulate the longing inside, and the words fall flat, lifeless. You have searched scriptures, flipped pages, repeated prayers. But something deeper stirs, something your mind cannot grasp, something your heart recognizes as both terrifying and holy. You have felt the tension, the desire to reach God fully, yet the inability to find the vessel to carry that longing. You have felt that strange mix of hope and frustration. Hope that God is near, frustration that you cannot sense it. You have felt your faith like a candle flickering in the wind, wondering if it will go out, or if somehow it is burning brighter in ways unseen. I know the quiet you endure, the quiet that hums in your ears and gnaws at your courage, the quiet that stretches between the lines of prayer, between the verses of the Word, between the promises you hold but cannot feel. You have sat in it, night after night, wondering why heaven seems paused, why the Spirit feels distant, why your own voice falters in the presence of God. You have wrestled with guilt for not feeling enough, for not hearing enough, for not praying enough. And yet, all the while, your soul stirs, quietly pushing towards something you cannot yet name, something beyond words, beyond comprehension, beyond human logic. You have felt the chaos of your own mind, the tension between desire and doubt, between faith and fear, between longing and emptiness. You have felt it pulsing in your veins, hammering in your chest, twisting your stomach with questions that cannot yet be answered. You have felt alone even in the crowd, unseen even in your own prayers. And oh, how real that pain is. Oh, how valid. It has shaped you, it has bent you, it has refined you. And yet, even in the tempest, there is a rhythm, a cadence you do not yet hear. You have been waiting for understanding, waiting for a spark, waiting for the moment when the veil lifts and revelation lands. And in your waiting, the silence feels infinite. But I tell you this, not as theory, not as comforting words, but as truth that pierced the veil itself. What feels chaotic may, in fact, be divine orchestration. The storms, the confusion, the delays, they are not absence. They are preparation. They are the chisel shaping the temple of your heart. They are the soil in which the river of the Spirit will one day surge, sweeping away the rubble of doubt, the residue of pain, the dust of unanswered questions. You have felt empty. You have felt forgotten. You have felt unheard. And yet, here is the whisper hidden beneath it all. Every pulse of frustration, every silent tear, every unanswered plea is a note in the symphony of your awakening. You have been forming. You have been bending. You have been tuned by the hand of the one who knows every hair on your head, every sigh that escapes your chest, every word you could not say. And even now, as you wrestle with your own shadow, as your heart longs for release, as your spirit aches for touch, there is a divine pattern being traced. There is a sacred purpose behind the disarray. The waiting is not wasted. The silence is not empty. The confusion is not meaningless. Every tremor inside you, every restless hour, every prayer that seems to echo into nothing, God is using it. He is weaving it. He is orchestrating it. And the river you have not yet seen, the voice you have not yet heard, the fire you have not yet felt, they are being prepared in the hidden depths of your heart. Chaos in the hands of God becomes the canvas for revelation. And though your mind cannot yet follow, your spirit knows the truth. The storm is holy. The silence is holy. The waiting is holy. And very soon, the river will come. What you have felt as silence, listen closely now. It was never absence. It was the hush of heaven bending near, the quiet pause before the unveiling. What you took for delay, for empty hours, for prayers that seemed to vanish into the void. Know this, it was strategy. Not random, not careless, not impatient. Every moment of stillness, every unanswered plea, every trembling thought was a thread in a pattern too vast for human eyes to perceive. Heaven moves with a rhythm beyond clocks, beyond calendars, beyond human understanding. And in that rhythm, your heart has been held, guarded, prepared. Imagine a sculptor before a block of marble. To the onlooker, it is still stone. To the artist, each tap, each careful cut is deliberate. What you called waiting was shaping. What you called confusion was forming. What you called silence was the gentle hum of a sacred hand at work. And so, what seemed chaotic, every restless night, every unanswered question, every tear unclaimed, was the quiet precision of divine orchestration. The Spirit moving unseen, arranging, aligning, preparing a vessel for power, for revelation, for intimacy with God that words cannot yet capture. Consider the river hidden beneath ice. To the world it appears frozen, dormant, still. But beneath the surface, currents are moving, carving paths, gathering strength. And when the thaw comes, the river will flow with more force, more life, more purpose than anyone could have predicted. This is how your spiritual journey has been moving, unseen. What felt cold, what felt stuck, what felt empty, was the gathering of unseen currents, the divine design forming beneath the surface of your life. Even the chaos you thought was accidental, the tangled thoughts, the scattered emotions, the unrest in your spirit, was part of the pattern. The Spirit whispers in ways that surpass human logic, using contrast to teach, to shape, to illuminate. The moments you thought were failures, the prayers you thought were wasted, the nights you thought were too long, each was a hidden pivot point, a quiet turning of the cosmos of your soul. What looked like disorder was the hand of God tracing sacred geometry, shaping your heart into a vessel ready for the river of tongues, the wind of revelation, the fire of intimacy that flows when heaven opens. Now, breathe. Feel the weight of it shift. The tension that once gripped your chest begins to loosen. The questions that once pressed your mind begin to settle. Because what you thought was waiting, what you thought was emptiness, what you thought was silence, was the architecture of grace. Heaven does not move without purpose. The Spirit does not rest without aim. The whispers of eternity are not faint, they are the blueprint. And in this blueprint, your heart, your prayers, your longing are perfectly placed. You are being prepared, even now, for a new kind of encounter. Not hurried, not forced, not hurried along human impatience, but designed for fullness. The tongues that will rise from your spirit, the prayers that will overflow beyond understanding, the fire that will ignite your soul, these were being readied in the hush you once feared. And now, the hush itself becomes a gift. The delay becomes revelation. The silence becomes a guide. So let your spirit rest. Let your eyes see what the human mind cannot yet grasp. Let your heart embrace this divine perspective. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. Heaven's hand is precise, tender, intentional. And as you open yourself to this truth, you are invited to step into peace, into understanding, into trust. To see the chaos transformed into order, the silence transformed into strategy, the waiting transformed into preparation. And in that seeing, allow your spirit to rise, to receive, to flow with the river that has been moving quietly all along, carrying you into the fullness of what God has prepared. There is a place where faith is stretched, a place where the soul feels the weight of waiting so deeply that every breath seems deliberate, every heartbeat a drum of endurance. You may feel it now, that long, quiet tension, the pressure of longing, the ache of unanswered questions. And yet, do not fear this place. It is holy. It is sacred. It is where God meets the heart that is willing to wait, that is willing to be stretched beyond comfort, beyond understanding, beyond the rhythms of human impatience. Breathe into it. Let your spirit slow. Let your mind loosen its grip on timing and expectation. Here, in the stillness, in the quiet, there is a kind of strength that does not rush. It is not loud, it does not demand, it does not clamor. It waits, it watches, and in waiting, it gathers power, gathers clarity, gathers the depth of understanding that cannot be hurried. The same spirit that moved mountains in ages past moves here as well. In you, in the hush, in the spaces where human impatience has nothing to grasp. Do not be tempted to fill this silence with anxiety. Do not try to force revelation to arrive on your schedule. Here, endurance itself is sacred. Here, every moment of waiting, every second of longing, every sigh that slips silently into the air is being transformed into preparation. You are not wasting time. You are not forgotten. You are being readied. The very act of holding your faith steady, of keeping your heart soft and open while the answer seems distant, is itself a form of worship. See it as ground consecrated by patience. Every tear, every tremor of doubt, every quiet prayer you have offered into the emptiness is touching holy soil. Even the parts of your spirit that feel weak, fragile, unsteady, they are fertile. God honors the faith that waits. God blesses the heart that surrenders. And even when you cannot see the outcome, even when the path is hidden behind veils of mystery, the work of heaven is ongoing. It is quiet, yes, but it is relentless in its perfection. Your faith may feel small. Your endurance may feel fragile. And yet, in this sacred pause, a strength rises that is not your own. It is the strength of the Spirit breathing through you, sustaining you, shaping you for what is coming. Trust it. Let yourself lean into it. Let every slow heartbeat remind you that this waiting is not absence, not stagnation, not punishment. It is cultivation. It is sanctification. It is a preparation that can only happen in the rhythm of stillness, in the tension of patient expectation. Do not hurry. Do not push. Do not grow impatient with the unfolding of what God is about to reveal. Let your spirit rest in the knowledge that the answer is being formed even as you wait, that the revelation is being refined even in silence, that the power to flow, to speak, to lift your voice in tongues, is being prepared in the depth of your quiet surrender. This is sacred ground. Every second here is holy. Every pause is deliberate. Every breath you draw is part of the weaving of divine understanding. And now, as you settle into this space, as your heart and mind slow and open, the Spirit begins to prepare to speak. Not with haste, not with force, not in human expectation, but with authority, with clarity, with the quiet revelation that turns waiting into understanding. Here in this patience, in this sacred endurance, the moment approaches where the mystery begins to unfold, where the hidden truths of heaven rise to meet the faithful heart, where revelation flows like the river that has been moving beneath the surface all along. Listen closely now, for this is the moment when heaven's reasoning unfolds, not as argument or debate, but as quiet revelation, as inevitability made visible. The delay you have endured, the long hours when prayers seemed to vanish, when the light of understanding was dim, when your spirit ached, was not punishment, it was refinement. Just as gold is purified by fire, so your heart has been tempered in patience, in trust, in surrender. The waiting itself was the instrument of holiness, shaping the vessel before the river could flow through it. The silence that pressed so heavily upon you, the emptiness that seemed unbearable, the nights that stretched long and lonely, these were the classrooms of heaven. Here, in absence, the soul learns to lean wholly on God, not on feelings, not on results, not on visible answers. Here, the Spirit teaches without words, without sound, without spectacle. Here, understanding grows quietly, invisibly, imperceptibly, until the moment arrives when revelation can no longer be contained. Consider the paradox: what seemed distant was protection. The things you longed to grasp too soon, the power you sought too early, the intimacy you desired before your heart could bear it, all of it would have overwhelmed you. God's timing is deliberate. The space, the pause, the measured unfolding is the wisdom of eternity. What looked like emptiness was actually fullness concealed. What looked like delay was precision itself. What looked like silence was strategy, a divine choreography unseen by human eyes. And in this reasoning, the logic of heaven, a pattern emerges. Your faith, stretched and tested, becomes unshakable. Your prayers, whispered in the dark, gain weight and depth beyond comprehension. Your spirit, trained in stillness and surrender, becomes sensitive to the currents of the Spirit that others cannot feel. The delay was not denial. The silence was not indifference. The distance was not absence. Everything that felt like struggle, like confusion, like the edges of despair, was shaping you to receive a fullness that cannot be rushed, a gift too immense for impatience, a power too sacred for the unprepared. It is in this paradox that transformation begins. The very thing you feared, the waiting, the emptiness, the unanswered cry, becomes the very doorway through which the river of God's Spirit flows. What seemed like hardship is actually preparation. What seemed like isolation is actually connection to the source. What seemed like nothing is actually everything, layered and hidden. waiting to break forth in perfect timing. Dawn comes slowly, yes, but it comes inevitably. The darkness recedes not because you forced it, not because you demanded it, but because heaven's plan moves with precision too vast for human perception, and it cannot fail. Now, in the quiet of your heart, begin to sense it, the expectancy of what is coming. The river, long concealed beneath the ice of waiting, begins to stir. The tongues that were held back, the words that could not yet form, the fire that could not yet touch your lips, all of it waits only for the perfect moment to rise. And you, who have endured, who have trusted, who have surrendered in silence, are ready. The Spirit has readied your vessel. The currents have been measured. The power has been distilled. The revelation is near. Feel it stirring, subtle at first, like the first glimmers of light across a dark horizon. Feel it in the tremor of hope, in the quiet pulse of expectation, in the soft whisper that says it is coming. Transformation is inevitable. The river will flow. The tongues will rise. The fire will ignite. And you, who have waited, who have been refined, who have learned to trust in the sacred stillness, will witness the unfolding of heaven's design, perfect, unassailable, unstoppable. Now, something stirs, something moves. The stillness that pressed so heavily, the silence that seemed endless, begins to shift. You may not see it yet with your eyes, but your spirit feels it. The subtle stirring of heaven setting things into motion, the turning of a sacred season long anticipated. Doors that were closed begin to creak, small at first, but unmistakable. Pathways that seemed blocked, frozen, unreachable, begin to tremble, bending toward the design of God. There is emergence in the air, a slow, deliberate turning, like the sun lifting over a horizon that has been dark for too long. The currents of spirit, long hidden beneath the quiet of waiting, begin to move. They ripple beneath the surface of your soul, gathering strength, gathering clarity, gathering momentum. You feel it as a pulse, a rhythm beneath your ribs, a whisper beneath your thoughts. Something is coming. The season you have waited for, prayed for, hoped for, trembles on the edge of arrival. It does not rush, it does not clamor, but it is certain. It is inevitable. The Spirit moves in ways unseen by human eyes, yet utterly effective, utterly true. Notice how the light returns, not harshly, not suddenly, but with a gentle insistence, like dawn brushing against the sky, coloring it with hope, with promise, with inevitability. It is the light of revelation, the illumination of understanding, the warmth of a spirit long concealed that now flows freely. You sense it touching your heart, softening the tension, loosening the grip of doubt, whispering the truth that all your waiting has been a preparation for this very moment. What once seemed distant now draws near. What once seemed heavy now lifts. What once felt impossible now moves toward fruition. The doors open wider. Opportunities that were hidden in mystery unfold. Words that could not find their place in your heart rise now, ready to flow. The tongues that were restrained, the prayers that were stillborn in your anxiety, the fire that flickered quietly in your spirit, they awaken now, in time with the Spirit, in rhythm with heaven itself. This is not human striving, this is divine movement, and it is unstoppable. Every element, every particle of your waiting, every ounce of faith you have nurtured in silence, joins the turning of this sacred hour. Feel it in your chest, in your bones, in your soul. The shift is here. Seasons have changed. What was dormant now flourishes. What was frozen now melts. What was distant now draws near. The Spirit sweeps gently, deliberately, across your heart, arranging, aligning, opening, lifting. You are in the current of transformation. You are in the river that has been forming beneath the surface. You are part of the emergence itself, called to rise in harmony with the Spirit, called to flow with the river, called to speak in the fullness that has been prepared for you. And as this moment stretches before you, feel the certainty, the inevitability, the quiet triumph that fills it. This is the threshold of breakthrough, not a fleeting spark, not a temporary flicker, but the steady, unstoppable rise of heaven's purpose into your life. The moment has arrived. The doors are open. The river flows. The tongues rise. The fire ignites. The breakthrough that you have waited for, prayed for, and been prepared for has come. And all that remains is to step into it, to receive it, to allow the Spirit to move through you in the fullness of its divine design. I invite you now to rest in this moment. Let the currents of revelation slow. Let the fire of understanding settle gently over your spirit. The doors have opened, the river flows, the tongues rise, and yet there is nothing to chase, nothing to force. Just breathe. Let your heart feel the weight lifted. Let your soul drink in the quiet assurance that heaven's work is complete, even as it continues to move in perfect rhythm. I died, and what Jesus told me about speaking in tongues changed everything. Let that truth settle deep, like a whisper breathing over your spirit, like light folding softly into every corner of your being. Feel it now. The tension fades, the questions rest, the ache of waiting dissolves into stillness. Your faith, once stretched and tested, now rests in the hand of the one who has carried you through the silence, through the storms, through every tremor of uncertainty. This is communion. This is intimacy. This is the quiet presence of God that does not demand, does not hurry, does not overwhelm, but simply is. The revelation becomes rest. The prophecy becomes peace. The river that surged beneath your waiting flows now within you, steady, sure, gentle. Repeat it softly in your heart. I died, and what Jesus told me about speaking in tongues changed everything. Let it echo in the chambers of your soul. Let it become rhythm. Let it become breath. Let it become prayer without words. You do not need to strive to understand it fully, to measure it, to prove it. It is already true. It has already happened. It has already touched you. And in this truth, you may rest. Give thanks now, quietly, simply, for the waiting, for the refining, for the Spirit who moved unseen, for the tongues that rise in the hidden places of your heart, for the fire that burns softly, transforming you from within. Let gratitude fill the spaces where doubt once lingered. Let the quiet strength of heaven's hand settle over your shoulders, over your mind, over your life. There is nothing left to grasp, only to receive. I died, and what Jesus told me about speaking in tongues changed everything. Let it linger, let it breathe, let it exhale slowly into every part of you. There is rest here, there is peace here, there is presence here. And now, let the silence take over, the sacred, holy silence that speaks louder than words, that hums with the eternal, that leaves the soul cradled in the nearness of God.